Hello and welcome to a video of mine where I actually look at someone else's video, which is very unusual. If you know me, you know that I've spent many years researching, and Skinwalker Ranch is a treasure trove of information. And it's not recent information, it goes back. I've known about it for many years. I've been researching since, well, a long time, 40 odd years. So, without further ado, let's look at the New York Post, where they sent this guy to debunk. And I say debunk because when you watch the very first episode that this guy's done, I think there's 3 in total, you'll see that he's already on the side that he's ready to be combative and not be open to the possibility that Skinwalker Ranch is an actual place that has phenomena. So let's have a look at the New York Post and see. Now, what the guy done was he went there for 48 hours, but he didn't actually stay there specifically overnight for 48 hours. He went in the evening, he was there on his own and stayed till the morning. And actually something happened in the evening, which is interesting because he will more than likely edit out anything else that was interested. So he put one tiny thing, but then he forgot to mention that a bit later on, which I'll get to. So you got to remember, just because he's showing us stuff doesn't mean he's showing us everything. Just like the show does. The show may actually, the TV show Secret Skinwalker Ranch, may actually film stuff that they don't show us for whatever reason. So please, as an editor myself and a filmmaker and documentary maker as well, I've done it all, you do leave out certain things for certain reasons. So anyway, he goes, this New York reporter goes to visit Brandon, the guy that actually owns Skinwalker Ranch now. And what in his video, in this New York Post video, he shows, and I'll show you now.
Skinwalker Ranch was not the first time Brandon Fugel invested his money into paranormal/religious investigations. In 2004, he founded the Ancient Historical Research Foundation, or AHRF.
So what this New York Post person's done is actually admitted on video that Brandon has always been interested in this. So it's not something that he's knocked up as entertainment. Now, if he wanted it to be entertainment, he could have done it back then with the giants, but he didn't. Or the mummies, sorry, and also giants they looked into. But he didn't. So it's something of a passion for him. So for him, as a logical point of reference, for Brendan to buy Skinwalker Ranch and then have a giggle and pretend that there's phenomena going on, really? I mean, if the New York Post thinks that someone will spend a fortune on a place called Skinwalker Ranch, pay for people to go there, you know, not only the people that have to stay there and do these experiments, but other people that they pay to come in with their equipments, etc. If the New York Post numpty, I won't call him a numpty because I don't know his name. I don't want to know his name. That's why I didn't study it. If a numpty thinks that someone buys a place like that and then persuades everyone to lie, including the companies that they get in and individual people, and also the people from around the area that come and mention their stories, etc. Is Brendan really that bored that he's going to do that? Seriously, numpty? So anyway, so we've got proof now, thanks to this, that Brendan does actually care very much about paranormal investigation. So then, this is the numpty here, by the way. And that's Brendan. So Brendan's very into sci-fi and everything. As you see in his office there, he's got a Terminator T-1000 by the looks of it. I don't know if you guys can see that beside him. So anyway, this numpty's now quizzing Brendan on whether or not he had meetings with people in the Pentagon. And lo and behold, he calls the Pentagon, and actually, yes, they do admit, they don't really give him the full details of what went on because obviously it's private, and that's someone at the New York Post should know about private conversations. But yes, they do admit, and here's him saying that he actually managed to get through to him, and yes, they did admit that there was meetings with Brandon. Now, why would any politician even want to meet with Brandon about a ranch unless it's got something to do with it? So again, you've kind of given yourself the clue there, but you obviously don't want to see it.
Curious if you could give me a timeline on when I might get a response. Oh my God. I have spent weeks that have turned into months just to get answers to basic questions. Did this happen? Who was there? Why did it happen? Finally, after 2 months, I finally got a response. A committee spokesperson states, in 2018, Mr. Fugel updated a handful of Senate staffers on plans for his properties. No senators were involved, and no subsequent briefings were held. This makes no sense.
Right, so he's actually now got to agree with himself, or me. Watch what he says.
First of all, I saw photos of this briefing. So they're saying it was just a handful of Senate staffers. No, Department of Defense officials were there. Also, they say staffers on the Senate Armed Services Committee fly a Utah real estate mogul to D.C. to brief them on plans for his real estate properties. That makes zero sense.
Unless there was something going on with the property, which is why you would have the defence person there from the military or Senate. So he's actually just kind of now admitted that why the hell would they have Brendan there if there's not something going on? So now you should be not so sceptical, because you're thinking, hang on a minute. So then this numpty tries to debunk Travis by showing that Travis is a science fiction fan, and he's got other, I think, PhDs, etc., in astrophysics, etc., which is fine, because a lot of people back in the day when Star Trek was first out, and even the original Star Trek, admitted that they got into science because of science fiction. So while the numpty is trying to knock Travis down for being writing science fiction books, etc., doesn't mean that Travis is going to go to Skinwalker Ranch, be in a movie, lie about strange phenomenon happening while they're there. I mean, you'd have to be a real numpty to think that Travis is doing all this for a giggle or, you know, an extra pay packet. He's clearly a wealthy man and, you know, intelligent man, and has actually worked for NASA and all these other places that he said he's worked for. So to go along to a TV show and lose all credibility because he's being part of a team of fakers, really? I know you could then argue that numpty's trying to say, well, nothing happens on the ranch, but obviously these guys do come across phenomena, as well as the people previously. Obviously, you may know that Bigelow, Robert Bigelow, owned it beforehand and also was doing experiments there. So it's not a place that doesn't have phenomena. It's something that actually happens. And of course, even the home owners, or the owners before Bigelow, even captured and saw many strange things. So it's got strange phenomena. So anyway, so that was him trying to debunk Travis, which I think is a stupid thing to do, because anyone that's into sci-fi, you know, more than likely will be interested in portals and all this kind of stuff. And he obviously was, and that's what his path went down. So this is the group of people that you see on the show. So he's basically, numpty's trying to say that these people are all lying, really. I'm guessing he's saying that because why else would he say at the end of his video that he doesn't think that anything really happens at Skinwalker Ranch? So, and these guys are there saying there is. Then there's this bit here where he actually gets a bit of evidence himself. Don't forget, he could edit out anything he wants that happened that night. Anything he wants, and just delete it, and no one will know. Obviously, it makes good for good TV having negative reviews, because obviously if he went and said, yes, this and this happened, first of all, it would probably, I don't really know what would happen if he actually said this and this happened, and, you know, would it cause a flood of people going there, trying to break in like they do at Area 51? Would it cause more Men in Black scenarios. So I don't know why he would edit it out, obviously, because probably more than likely he had his own agenda that he wanted it to be a negative. But watch this.
Emotions or intentions. And then my lightning strike detector went off. My lightning strike detector just went off. It just beeped and it said relocate. That means right where I am is some kind of electrical thing.
So he then had a problem with his eye, but he then later on said, well, after I left Skinwalker Ranch and I took some tablets to do with I can't remember what he said, like to do with grass, hay fever, that kind of thing. He said after a few hours it got better and that was the end of it. But so you've got a lightning detector going off and his eye went puffy and he felt a bit strange. But let's scoot over that and pretend that that didn't happen. Really, you just had a phenomena happen. So you can clearly see he's desperately trying to. He does look like one of the guys in the Skinwalker Ranch in the show.
Location for entertainment, motion picture, television.
So here he's trying to say to Brandon, why are you copywriting or trademarking the name Skinwalker Ranch or Skinwalker? And Brandon's saying, well, it's because I don't want, TV programs, books, etc. using the same name when he's trying to make a serious point about this, because as I've just proved, and he's done other things to do with paranormal, not just the mummies and the giants. There's other things that he has done and funded, in fact, as well. So this guy's saying, but you've trademarked it under entertainment, the word Skinwalker. And then the numpty says, well, why didn't you trademark it under science? And he goes, well, how am I going to trademark it under science? Really? I mean, it's like, what? Skinwalker Science. And so then people could make movies and TV shows, because as you know, there has been movies and TV shows with the word Skinwalker in it already. So you can see why he's done that, to stop copycats, etc. Well, that's my opinion, and I think he's right in doing so. Then Numpty's trying to have a go at them because they actually go to a Comic-Con. Now, it may have been set up by Brandon and the local area because they wanted more tourists to come in. Fine, I haven't got a problem with that. I don't know why Numpty would have a problem with that. And to be honest, if people want to go and pay to see them, fine. If people want to go and pay on their website, fine. Brendan's spending money. He's not doing this for fun. He is a businessman. If you know anything about Brandon, he owns the Collier's estate agents. So he is a businessman. So if he can see a way of making money at the same time as spending money doing these researches, are you saying he shouldn't do that? Really? Are you saying, no, oh, you just keep spending money on your ranch, but you're not allowed to, recoup any of that? Really? I mean, that's a numpty move. And then you've got this bit here, which I'm trying to remember what it is now, sorry.
We do take it seriously.
Oh, this bit, yeah.
We have brought in leading healthcare professionals.
Have you ever contacted the CDC?
Right, so he's asked, have you ever contacted the CDC, which is the American, I think, to do with out of control or medical issues that would result in a large scale issue. In other words, you're not stubbing your toe. It may be viruses or whatever else, bacteria. And that's because the reason why he brought that up is because Brandon had made this guy sign some forms saying that there's a possibility that being on the ranch you may feel dizzy, may have problems with your health, and obviously if you die, it's not our problem. You've agreed to come onto this ranch. So this guy's saying, well, hang on a minute. If you believe that this is a common occurrence, why don't you contact the CDC? In other words, get the... now, he doesn't... Brendan, by the sounds of it, doesn't trust... reading between the lines when you watch it, doesn't really trust the CDC. I would 100% agree with him. I don't trust them. looking at what happened in the last 2 years with people, and they were telling us to do certain things, and turns out they were wrong. So, but the point I'm trying to get at is Numpty didn't think properly. So let's just look at this. Now, imagine I'm Numpty and I say to Brandon, Brandon, you need to contact the CDC and get them in there. And Brandon then says, yes, okay, let's do that. Do you know what's going to happen? They're going to go in there. First of all, the phenomenon isn't repeatable. It happens when it happens. So they're going to then block down his research. They're going to stop people going in there. They're going to control his property. They're then probably, more than likely, going to allow military in there to do experiments as well without Brandon knowing, because they will want to go in there and do whatever they can with Skinwalker Ranch. So Brandon will lose his research facility for a very long time. I mean, they could literally close it down and say you can't even go back in there. So does Numpty think that's a good idea to get someone involved when you can't repeat the problem, you know, and it only happens whenever it happens to whoever it happens? So I know Numpty's going to say, well, you know, if it happens to one, that's, you know, one, and then if it happens to two, then you've got two people, so therefore it's a pandemic. It doesn't work like that. You know, himself, he found, you know, with his lightning detector, as well as him feeling not well and his eye puffed up, it happens when it happens, and trying to have the CDC there, trying to find when it happens to someone, he would lose, you know, a year, 2 years. They could, as I say, they'd probably close it down. I know I wouldn't do that. I would do exactly what Brandon's done. I would not get anyone else involved, and I would just continuously spend my money, as he's doing there, trying to get the results that I'm after. So hopefully this video has showed you that if you do watch that guy's video, he hasn't thought of all the things, because obviously Brandon's not going to turn around and say, no, I don't want a CDC there because I'm going to lose, you know, my research. I'm going to lose all the money that I've spent. And he's not going to say that on film. So hopefully you guys have realised now that there's always two sides to every story. So I'm just putting my side back, even though I'm nothing to do with the show or anything, nothing to do with Skinwalker Ranch. I just hate numpties that don't think, you know, and then try and shoehorn their opinion on people without looking at both sides. And I think that's what that New York Post person done. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Do let me know whether you think it was any good or not, or whether you think I'm wrong. Happy to see your thoughts.